On 12 News at 4, we are all about bringing you solutions and empowering you to better your lives. Every day, we bring some of the Valley's most experienced professionals to discuss trending topics on health, ways to save money and improve your financial life, the law, relationships. We even have an expert on pets. And it's not just us asking the questions, we give you, the viewer, the opportunity to weigh in and ask questions too. Now, we're putting all these segments together in one place for you. This is Ask the Expert. Just this week, new guidance was issued by the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force that women should get a mammogram every other year starting at age 40. This is a considerable drop in age from prior recommendations that said women should start screenings no later than 50. So let's ask the expert. Joining me now is Dr. Sono Harter with Dignity Health Medical Group. Sono, why the change in guidelines?
Okay, so between the years of 2015 and 2019, we saw a 2% increase in incidence of breast cancer between this age group, 40 and 50. About 37,000 breast cancers actually are seen in this age group, and 3,000 women die each year in this age group from breast cancer. Also, these guidelines, Tram, actually align with all other guidelines. So American Cancer Guidelines, radiology guidelines have always recommended 40 onwards. And actually in my practice, I follow those guidelines, so 40 onwards. So I would say they now align with most other societies, which makes sense because breast cancer has risen in younger women. And plus, if we find them in earlier stages, it's treatable with great prognosis and great outcomes.
Yeah, okay, but with these guidelines, it's not always a one-size-fits-all. I mean, everybody is different. So what should people know?
Okay, so this is for average risk. So anybody who has higher risk, so family history, self-history of breast abnormalities or cancer or genetic history, they need to have breast risk assessment calculations with their doctors. So they may qualify for some of these testing prior to 40, or they may qualify for an MRI versus just a screening mammogram. So this is something, again, like you said, it does not fit everybody.
Right.
This is a conversation with your doctor in regards to all your risk factors.
Absolutely. Sonal, thank you so much. A study just released shows a link between perimenopause and depression. The study was published in the Journal of Affective Disorders and involved more than 9,000 women from across the world to understand whether different stages of menopause were associated with different risks of depression. Researchers found that perimenopausal women had a significantly higher risk. We're talking around 40% experienced depressive symptoms and were diagnosed with depression. And just yesterday, actress Halle Berry was on Capitol Hill pushing for legislation to put $275 million towards research and education to destigmatize menopause.
I'm in menopause, okay? And that's why I'm having this issue. And he said, oh my God, I could never say that to you. Look at you, you don't look like you're in menopause. I could never say that. And if I said that to all of my female clients, they'd punch me. And again, I knew that is why I'm here doing this work, because it has to be destigmatized. The shame has to be taken out of menopause. We have to talk about this very normal part of our life that happens.
Thank you, Halle. Okay, so let's ask the expert now. Dr. Sono Harter joins me once again. Let's talk about, though, the link between perimenopause and depression. What was your reaction?
Oh, my reaction was, thank God we are talking about it, because we have not spoken about menopause and menopause-related topics for a long time. Destigmatize is the right word. We have seen mental health issues related to change in your hormonal levels. I mean, this is something that is known in all, amongst all providers who take care of women during those times. We talk about postpartum depression. We talk about puberty and what happens around hormones, but menopause and perimenopause often gets dismissed as it must be in your head. And it's not. Hormones have effect on different systems in our body. It's not just a reproductive system. We know that hormones affect our mood, hormones affect our bones, hormones affect our lipids, cholesterol, sugars, your weight, so many different organs. So yes, very important.
Obviously so many symptoms. And When exactly does it happen with perimenopause? I mean, because it can differ between individuals, obviously.
Correct. So menopause is basically no periods for 12 consecutive months. That's menopause. 3 to 5 years prior to that is kind of perimenopause. Now, during this time, you can have symptoms like irregular menstrual cycles, you can have some weight fluctuations, sleep disorders, which are very common, mood changes, feeling irritable, feeling more anxious than normal. All these are signs, can be signs of perimenopause.
Okay, but when I heard about the study, I thought, what about the link, or is there a link between menopause and depression?
Right, so perimenopause seems to have increased risk of mood changes. Now, here's the reason why. During perimenopause, we have hormonal fluctuations. So we do not have, it's not about low hormones, it's more about those fluctuating hormones. So your ovaries are not completely done. They are fluctuating the way they release hormones. That causes mood changes. Now, women who have prior history of depression or anxiety are at higher risk for experiencing these symptoms even more during perimenopause because it can recur due to the hormonal fluctuation. The risk during menopause tends to slow down or calm down because during menopause your levels are low, but they are even and there are less fluctuations, almost none, once you attain menopause. So really perimenopause is a period when you can experience these things. Also, if you think about perimenopause and menopause, this is a midlife phase for women, but things are changing.
A big transition.
Absolutely. Kids are grown, they're leaving homes, or some are coming back home, or their relationship challenges. There are older parents, so there's a lot of social changes as well. Work is also changing around the same time. And you're thinking about your midlife, you're thinking about getting older, you're thinking about some other medical conditions. So it all kind of comes together if you think about all those changes. But yes, hormones. At the bottom of this, hormones do impact mood and other aspects of your health.
Yeah, okay. The way you explain it, it makes so much sense. Okay, so let's talk about therapy now. What is available?
Okay, so this is treatable. That's good news. And two things that evidence backs up is cognitive behavioral therapy. So finding a good therapist, but also number two, exercise, physical activity does have positive impact, especially if you are doing it in a group or going outside, outdoors. Those are some things. We also have medications that actually help mood as well as menopause at the same time, but therapy, physical activity, and some may need medication. So I would say a combination of all of that.
Okay, and obviously check with your doctor, because I know some people, they don't want to take medication.
Correct.
So maybe there's
I think for that, there is so much evidence behind therapy and exercise, just physical activity. Those things are very helpful. And also staying connected with your community. I think talking about it, letting your family members know, especially your partner, right? It's
who may not understand.
Correct. And I think I actually suggest to my patients to bring their partner with them. So I can have that conversation about what's happening in a woman's body. So it's important to have all those pieces.
Everybody on the same page.
Absolutely.
Oh, Sonal, thank you so much. Joining me now is Chef Ron, owner and caterer of Food Vision. All right, so Ron, great to have you. We're going to paint the scenario. Here's the deal. We're going to throw a party for 50 people, and you say it's not going to cost more than $250 for everything.
Yes, if you have a bunch of family coming in out of town, I know it can get crazy. So I always tell people to push towards like more finger food style of food. So like today we have a few things here that we can get to.
Okay, so let's start with where to shop. And you say you got to hit the wholesale stores. Where else?
All right, so one of the main things, if you're buying in bulk, especially 50 to 100 people, you want to start at like Costco or business Costco. A lot of people don't know about business Costco, but you can go there and buy everything in bulk, from dishware to even food. So, yeah.
And even the dollar store?
Even the dollar store.
And then the local grocery stores?
Yeah, if you really want to be cost effective and you really want to help people out and get as much as you can, the dollar store will be your best bet. Also Walmart, places like that, Dollar General, places like that.
All of those good cheap places. Okay, so let's talk about proteins first of all. So What do we buy and how much of it do we buy? Give us ideas.
So for protein, today I have a bag of meatballs. I have chicken skewers and I have chicken breasts shredded. With these items, with the meatballs, you buy like two bags. Will feed about 50 people in a pan just like this right here.
Okay.
You fill that up and it'll feed about 50 people. For the chicken skewers, you can definitely fill people up with that, but that'll take a little bit more. They'll cost about 15 bucks each.
Yeah.
Those are a little bit costly, but it's still a good item to put together. All you gotta do is throw some sauce on there and it comes out great.
You know what, speaking of the sauces, I'm glad you brought that up because the sauces can really take it to, kick it up a next level.
Yeah, you can even be more creative than that. And after you add the sauces, depending on the type of sauce you use, you can even throw some fruit base in there, like pineapple, stuff like that, lemon, stuff like that to even enhance the flavors.
Right. And your favorite go-to sauces, like a teriyaki, what else?
Teriyaki sauce, like a sweet barbecue sauce, things like that, because people tend not to like heat. A lot of heat in their food. More sweet on the sweet side. And those are probably the best items to have.
Oh, and also too, already made like chicken from the deli.
Yes, so you want to go with the chicken from the deli. You can get that at Walmart, this is where I got that one from. You can also go to Fry's. You can get them between for 100 people, 50 people, 25 people, even 8 people if need be. They're usually, it's really cost effective. It costs about for about 50 pieces, so it'll be like 30-some bucks. And you can feed your whole family. And if you're smart about it, you can even chop it up even more to make more pieces.
I like that. Okay, so we got the proteins down. You also say you got to have a veggie.
You have to have a veggie, and you got to be, creative with the veggies. And the veggies right now that are popular to have is green beans. Brussels sprouts right now is very popular right now. Things like that, and you can even doctor them up with some honey and some seasoning salt or something like that.
Nice.
To get a little sweet, salty flavor.
You also have to have a carb, right?
Yes.
Protein, veggie, carb.
And
for carbs, what are some good ideas?
My go-to carbs are mashed potatoes. You can always doctor up some mashed potatoes and rice.
And it's so cheap.
It's so cheap, and you can either get it in a box form or you can make it yourself in a rice cooker or anything like that. And then you can get creative with that and throw some seasoning in there with some butter, and it'll definitely make it
nice. Okay, real quick, we got to talk about party supplies. Yes, because you need that to hold all the food.
So right here, I have utensils right here that you can get that I got from the dollar store. These cost $1 or you mean
$1.25.
I'm about to say they went up on this $1.25. You can even get pans there at the dollar store. You can get these burners from the dollar store. You can also get those at Walmart. I prefer you to get them in bulk because you'll get like 100 of them or even 50 of them for about 20 bucks, 25 bucks, and they last a long time.
Right, and you'll find another excuse to use them again.
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay, wow, Chef Ron, thank you so much. So now it's your turn. If you have any questions that you want to ask Chef Ron today, text us 602-444-1212. Again, make sure to let us know who you are and where you're texting from, and we're going to get some of your questions answered live on the air in about 20 minutes. Time now to ask the expert here to answer your questions live on the air about saving money on graduation parties is Chef Ron. All right, first up, Rob from Chandler says, what meat cuts still taste great but are cheaper?
The best meat cuts to save money for a family, I would say pot roast would be your best bet because you can make as much as you want. The cost of it is very cheap. And like I said, you can sauce it up with any flavor you want.
Right, but if you're buying, in bulk, like what we were showing in the last half hour, for a bunch of people, 50 people, typical party, what would you recommend?
Chicken thighs.
Chicken thighs.
Chicken thighs. Also another meat that you can buy that is kind of on the cheap side.
Right.
And you can buy in bulk from Costco or from Business Costco or even from Walmart.
Bone in or boneless?
Boneless.
Oh, okay,
boneless.
got it. All right, my husband likes that too.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve from Phoenix says, what can I do to flavor the food better? We touched on this.
Oh yeah, there's different ways you can do it. Like I said, fruit is one way. Seasoning, of course, is another way. Another way is sauces, different sauces that you can get into. There's Sweet Baby Ray, there's Kinder's, there's all different flavors that you can put in there and make it, enhance it. I also tell people one thing you can also use when you use sauces, always add like I'll say like an inch or 2 slices of butter in there too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
To make it a little bit more like a little creamy, just a little
Yeah, just enough.
extra.
So like salted butter.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I love it.
Yeah.
Ooh. Terry, I love food tips.
Yeah.
Terry says, what fruits or veggies are in season right now and cheaper?
Okay, like one of them I mentioned earlier was Brussels sprouts. Right now is a very popular item right now that you can get in season right now.
You know what though? I gotta be honest. Not everybody loves Brussels sprouts. So what else? I love them, but not everybody's a Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, it's just how it depends on who's cooking them. You know how that
Right.
goes.
Okay.
So green beans, you got spinach, you got so many different items. On the fruit side, we have apples right now. You can get right now in season. Well, I'm gonna say strawberries, maybe berries, and things like that for right now. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Kim from Cave Creek asks, is it cheaper to shop local or at a big membership store if I'm buying for a lot of people?
We were talking about 50 people. For 50 people, I would go on the bulk side, and I would try to well, they kind of clamped down on this, going in with family members and getting this, but you can go to, like I said, Costco, or even Winco. Winco is another location that kind of sells in bulk. Yeah, Winco also sells certain things in bulk. So
yeah, good stuff. And you don't need a membership.
You don't. It's for, and then it's actually for the people. So
yeah.
Yeah,
good. Lisa says, what can I do to save on plates, silverware, etc.? Those are the party supplies.
Yes, so Party City, if you're not comfortable going to Party City, you can also go to Business Costco. You can get like a 50 pack from Costco, plates, and you can buy silverware that's already wrapped in napkins, so you don't have to worry about people touching them. Because you know we still have we still have those issues, and just different places like that. Walmart, Wally World is always always a great place to visit.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff, Chef Ron. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Here's some more parties. You're familiar with the need for blood donations for humans, but what about for our pets? Most dog and cat owners don't realize that your pet can be a blood donor as well. For instance, with the rise of medical procedures and surgeries for dogs like orthopedic and soft tissue surgeries, emergencies, and oncology, the demand for canine blood transfusions has increased sharply. So, how do pet blood donations work? Joining me now once again is Brett the vet from Arizona Animal Hospital. Bless you, Josie. Okay, so we've got Josie, her full name again?
The Outlaw Josie Tales.
That's it. Okay, I can never get it right. All right, I gotta be honest with you. When we heard about pet blood donations, all of us in the newsroom were like, what? Pets can actually donate their blood?
They can.
Tell us about this. This is wild.
Well, we actually have a blood donor here.
Yes.
Josie is a blood donor hero.
Wow.
Saved 2 lives.
Okay, so tell us how this works.
So the recipient, when they are in a critical situation where they need blood and you need blood quick, you want to have a dog like Josie available immediately to draw blood for what's called a whole blood transfusion. Or you can draw blood, preserve it for a period of time, and use it, store it for a while and give it to the patient. So we use blood mostly when it's an acute injury, a crisis, and the problem is, not every clinic just keeps blood on hand, or a blood donor dog. So you as a pet owner aren't going to know when you might need the product. So
and I mean, so many times in the news, the human blood banks, they are always in desperate need of blood. I have to imagine, there's not a lot of pet owners who have their dog donate blood. So that demand has to be sky high as well.
It's hit and miss, and I think most important, not every clinic is going to do this kind of procedure to do a draw blood and do a transfusion.
Right.
So what's important, I think, is the pet owners to really know what the network looks like in our city. Most of the facilities in town, the emergency clinics, will either store or warehouse blood. Me and my clinic, I usually have a network where I can call upon the clinic that does a lot of transfusions and might have some extra blood sitting around.
Right.
Or if I need my technicians that have good dogs, we can provide the blood in a pinch.
Okay, so what are the requirements if people are interested?
So for you, if you want your dog to be a blood donor, talk to your veterinarian. I think if somebody comes to us and says, hey, I want to be on call in a time of need, we would, and you want to volunteer your dog, I would say, you come in, we would do some blood tests to make sure your pet is healthy, make sure they're free and clear of diseases, and do a free exam.
Right.
So that's the benefit to the donor dog. And do those blood tests on a regular basis. And if we need them, they're there in a pinch, and we can safely draw blood from their pet. The other thing, the dog's got to be a good dog, a calm dog, relaxed dog. The risks to that donor dog are not very high.
Okay. So you said how many times has she been a donor?
Twice.
Twice. And that leads me to my next question. I mean, how many times can they donate? Is there a limit or?
No, they can donate 2-3 times a year if you wish.
Okay.
Bigger dogs do
Right,
okay. Just like
right.
us, we can do a couple times a year. I think is fair.
Are there any side effects?
Not to the recipient, or to the, not from
The donor.
but to the recipient sometimes.
Oh,
right?
like what?
Well, when we're doing transfusions, you can have what's called a transfusion reaction. So what's interesting about dogs, you don't have to type them to give them their first blood transfusion. You should, but it's usually you get a buy. It's that recipient who's receiving the blood the second time, you need to type them, otherwise they can have some pretty severe reactions.
When you say type them, like for instance, humans have, O positive and all that whole thing. I can't go down the list. But so is it the same for dogs?
Yeah, it's a little different. They have 16 different blood types.
Okay.
But they don't express a lot of the reaction on the first blood donation. They can you can be a universal donor and a universal recipient largely,
Okay.
as a rule of thumb. So the problem is if on the second one, if that dog receives a second dose of blood or second unit of blood, you'll want to test that dog's blood, type that dog's blood, and make sure you get blood from a donor that matches.
Okay, real quick, where can people go for resources, info?
Go Google blood donor dog Phoenix.
Okay.
And look at the emergency veterinary clinics in your area and know who has it in case you need it. Or if you want to be a donor, talk to your vet.
Okay, interesting. All right, thank you, Brett. Thanks, Josie, or I should say the outlaw. We appreciate it. Now to Ask the Expert, here to answer your questions live on air is Brett the vet. All right, first up, Zach from Tempe says, do dogs have blood types like humans do? Oh, we touched on this.
Hey, Zach, they do. 16 different ones that we know of, in fact. It's a little bit different than it is in humans, but the 16 different antibodies, et cetera, on the dog's surface of the blood cells dictate typing.
Yeah.
But they don't react as badly as we would should we get the wrong type.
Oh, that's
Again, for
good.
that first one.
Yeah,
They do have different types.
So interesting. Like, who knew, you know?
And we can blood type them too.
Yeah, wow. Okay, Mindy from Goodyear asks, do female dogs get urinary tract infections? And is there anything I can do to provide relief until I can get her in to see the vet?
Yes.
Poor thing.
Oh, Mindy.
So
she's,
cute.
Is that a Georgia Tech fan or a Green Bay Packers?
Ooh.
Yeah, Georgia. So Mindy's very sweet. Yes, female dogs are more prone to urinary tract infections than male dogs. What you can do ahead of time is encourage her to drink more water, flush her bladder out, facilitate that. And then there's really not a lot of supplements that work, but just encourage water, get her to the vet, maybe bring in a urine sample with you so they can test it, make sure it's not something else like crystals,
Right.
for example.
So I'm just curious, how would you even know that your dog has a UTI?
Frequent attempts to go potty.
Okay.
And dribble, that urge to go and nothing comes out. And she's constantly wanting to go outside.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Got it. Oh, poor thing. All right, Barbara from Scottsdale says, does it hurt my dog or make him uncomfortable? This is in regards to pet blood donations.
Generally, the donors are really good dogs. They're calm, relaxed. There's no real risk to those dogs. We just shave an area on the neck and draw from the jugular vein.
Right.
Sometimes we sedate them just to keep them nice and relaxed.
Oh.
And the process takes about 20, 30 minutes tops.
Yeah. I'm just curious, how much blood do you draw?
About 200 mils.
Okay.
Yeah, 150
like-
mils. Yeah,
Like a
it's
couple vials or something, or?
about a half a can of Coke, I think that is.
Oh, okay. Good to
Yeah.
know. Just curious.
Yeah.
Scott from Chandler says, do I get paid for it?
Scott, your dog, at our clinic, if your dog came in, we would do some free exams and free testing.
Okay.
And I think that's what we do in kind to for our donors.
Yeah.
But you might check with your vet and see what they do. Generally, as a rule of thumb, I don't think so,
Right, right.
but it depends.
Yeah. Every vet's different. so
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it is a bonus.
somebody might give you some store credit. I don't know. But
Right.
what we do is some extensive blood work, free exams, and just make sure your pet's healthy.
Yeah, okay. Wendy from Surprise says, what happens to the blood?
Goes right into the recipient. Right, and we draw it in. I almost brought a kit to show people today, but we put it in a bag just like you might see when you're donating blood, and then we just connect that to a different tube and we set it in an IV catheter on the recipient dog and start infusing it immediately.
Yeah, and you help save a pet's life.
It gets put to use quickly, and it's much needed. There's a lot of shortages in our industry, not just with products, but with services too. So this is an issue, and I think it's nice to raise awareness about it. Right
Absolutely. I mean, just in this segment, I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm sure a lot of our viewers have learned a lot too. So it's fascinating.
Kind of like that fire story today. Ready, set, go. Nowhere. In this case, nowhere you can go get it. Hopefully, you'll never need it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, Brett, thank you so much. I know we have more viewer questions, so I'm going to let you go to the green room. Thank you. Thank you. Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so today we want to focus on children's mental health. Nearly 20% of children 3 to 17 years old have a mental, emotional, developmental, or behavioral disorder. That's 1 out of 5 kids. Depression and suicide were a risk for older children and teens, and nearly 15% of children in the U.S. were treated for mental health disorders in 2021, according to the CDC. So, how do we support children's mental health? Let's ask the expert on this Wellness Wednesday. Joining me now is family therapist Juliana Litton. All right, let's go over some of these warning signs, what to look for when we're trying to address children's mental health.
Yes, and it's so important because as the parents, you know your child best.
Yes.
There's a lot of nuanced stuff here. So one of the big red flags is your child suffering from a kind of depression. Are they sad? Are they pulling away? Are you recognizing how they're eating? Sometimes they're not eating enough. Sometimes they may be throwing up. Sometimes they may be harming themselves or talking about it. There's so much fear and anxiety that can really be exacerbated. So school issues, all of these are kind of red flags and for us to pay attention to if we're starting to recognize it.
Yeah, like something's not right, something's
That's right.
off. So, a lot of times life situations, they can lead to some of these warning signs. So let's address some of these life situations because people may not realize like, wow, that does have an effect on my child.
It does. And we're so busy.
Yes.
Sometimes we miss it. So it's things like maybe you're going through a divorce or a separation and you don't realize just the impact. Maybe you've lost a loved one or even an extended family. It's not right there, but it's
Death is
under
hard.
it's under the surface. There's grieving going on. I mean, you can see things with bullying that often are not obvious to you because they hold it in.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's so many of these that we need to really start to be aware of, and we do it through starting to have more communication with our kids.
So let's get into that. What can we do?
Yeah. We really need to find out by talking to them, but sometimes they may not want to talk to you.
Yes.
But the other thing to do is to use your pediatrician or your doctor. Use sometimes the school counselor, because often if they're having trouble at school, they have so many resources that can help in that case.
That's true. And then sometimes too, even with adults, sometimes it's just easier to talk to somebody else besides your family.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't really want to talk to us. I say all the time, you got to open that communication when they're younger, but it's never too late to get into their world.
Right.
Start the discussion. Bring it up. Say, hey, I can tell that, something isn't right here.
Yeah.
Do you need to talk to somebody else if you can't talk to me?
Another
That's a
thing
way to do it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, maybe the timing of it. Like maybe you don't want to talk about this now.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it later?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I like it and come back because sometimes they're preoccupied. They got a lot of stuff going on in their
And it's
world.
so built up that they may not be able to express themselves at that time.
Right. And sometimes we didn't know how.
Yeah.
Right? Think about growing up. Sometimes our parents didn't do it well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So, we're like, wow, how do I do it?
Right, but you don't know what you don't know.
That's
so,
right.
the whole blaming of the parents, that gets difficult too.
Exactly.
But, they did their best.
Exactly.
But
Keep
yes,
trying.
absolutely.
Keep trying.
Absolutely. You can end the cycle, you don't
Right.
have to
That's right. That's
do what
right.
your parents did or didn't do.
Right.
So,
We try to be better.
Right, absolutely.
That's all we can do.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Juliana, thank you so much. It's always so difficult to talk about. Ask the expert here to answer your questions about supporting children's mental health is family therapist Juliana Liddon. All right, our first one is from Tammy. I have a feeling my teen is struggling with mental health, but I have no clue how to even begin the conversation.
We talked a little bit about this during this segment.
It's hard.
It's a tough one. I really encourage you to go in and just start opening up, getting into their world. If this isn't comfortable for you, I know it can be hard. But just starting out by saying, hey, you know what, honey, I'm seeing that there's something different happening here. Maybe you're pulling away. Maybe you're changing a little bit and are more withdrawn. Whatever it is, point it out in a gentle way and see if you can get them to kind of come into the conversation.
I like that. Thank you for an example like
Yeah.
that too. Audrey from Chandler says, what are some warning signs that I should look for?
Well, as I said also in this segment, we know our children best. So we're going to know when something just isn't right. Right? Maybe they're staying in their room too long. They're really isolating. Maybe their friend group has changed. Maybe something's going on at school and you can tell by the fact you drop them off, they're not really happy, or when you pick them up. So it's these little things too that can really help you identify something's not right.
Yeah, you know in your gut. It's a little off, Mike says, how do I help get my kids to open up and talk about their concerns? I didn't do that when I was younger. That's tough.
It is hard because if we, a lot of times maybe one person in the partnership is better at it than the other. So say, hey, maybe would you want to talk to mom or dad? Maybe there's a grandma or an aunt or an older sibling. So try that route first. And then maybe it's just, hey, would you like to speak to a professional? Because, we're just not meeting. But again, just do it. Just try it.
As hard as it is.
Practice before, right? Say to your partner or friend, hey, I'm going to go into the room and I'm going to say this. What do you think?
Yeah, because the tone and like the different relationship dynamic it can depend. Maybe your child doesn't feel comfortable going to that particular, family member.
That's right. It can be awkward for adults. This isn't easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki says, should I look through my kid's diary or phone and texts to see how they're really feeling?
I have some strong feelings about this.
Yes, I'd love to know.
I say sometimes this may need to happen, but it's only in cases where there really is something going on that you have seen. Maybe they're harming themselves. Maybe there's been something, at school where they've told you there's a big thing, or maybe they got involved with law enforcement and something happened. And you really need to start checking because they are not giving you information. But I do believe kids deserve privacy, just like we do. And if we are going to try to build a mutual respect, we earn it, right? And it goes both ways. So sometimes as parents, we need to do it. But I just think it needs to be very measured, and you need to really have a good reason.
Oh, okay. That is really tough. Okay, all right. Heather from Prescott Valley says, my 17-year-old son has expressed a need to speak to a therapist. He struggles with anxiety and an overactive mind. What are your thoughts on EMDR therapy? We touched on this.
We did.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. I think it's a great place to start. It uses eye movements, which sounds kind of funny, eye movements to reprocess some of that trauma. So it's a beautiful, wonderful therapy. People get amazing results.
Wow.
And even kids, it's a good place to start. So keep checking it out.
We also, in that prior segment, talked about hypnotherapy.
Yes.
Would that be something?
Yes,
maybe
it certainly could. And I do that. And with trauma, it really can help. And with a lot of things where we get stuck. Right? Because my goodness, in life, we're always having these hiccups, right? So anytime we can go back and kind of look at that and isolate it, and a lot of it's held in that subconscious mind. So good thought there.
And maybe the therapist would have, a suggestion like this would be better for your son.
Sure.
This would be better.
Sure, yeah, talk about it.
Yeah. Juliana, thank you so very much. Our in-studio New product aiming to free up police from hours of writing reports, and it's centered around artificial intelligence. The Scottsdale-based company Axon says its AI program will use body camera video to write police reports before an officer even gets back to the station. The company says officers can spend as much as 40% of their time doing paperwork, and this would help cut down on those hours. However, there are concerns about mixing AI and law enforcement and trusting the technology. So let's take a legal deep dive into this. Joining me now is criminal defense attorney Hector Diaz of Diaz Law. Hector, as a criminal defense attorney, does this concern you?
You know, not really. Let me explain. You know, there's still going to be body camera evidence.
Right.
You know, and defense attorneys are still going to have a job to do in reviewing that evidence. So, you know, this isn't going to be a substitute for the body camera, and lawyers are still going to have to review it.
Right.
If there's concern, it's probably concern that lies on the law enforcement prosecutor side.
Yes.
And so the issue, I think the issue there is going to be, how complete is this? How perfect is this? Is this a, you know, I'll tell you, I'm reviewing body camera evidence almost every day, and I'm not just looking for words that were said. I'm looking for expressions or person's reaction to certain things. I'm looking at the lay of the kind of, you know, perimeter, all sorts of things that factor in. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how this technology is used.
Well, as a defense attorney, I would think that, you know, you could probably poke holes into a lot of this, right, with the AI technology. But as a prosecutor, maybe that is where the deeper concern is.
To some extent, yes. And I think the concern is going to be how close do the two match up in terms of the physical evidence. And also, you know, you're still going to have an officer who was there and is subject to a defense interview. That officer's still going to be, you know, he can't just simply give the report and say, hey, this is the end of it, just read my report. No, he may still have to testify. And if this doesn't match up with what he said on the stand, yeah, that's reasonable doubt.
Yeah, and technically Axon has said that, you know, the police officer, they still have to review it after it's been written up by the AI. I'm wondering, you know, with AI technology, it is moving fast. Faster than we could even imagine. And as more companies are using this technology, you know, to whether it's cut back on resources or jobs or what have you, I mean, what do law enforcement need to be mindful of?
I think law enforcement and prosecutors have to be mindful that, you know, this doesn't substitute, you know, the work that they have to do to afford due process to a defendant or a suspect that's charged with a crime. And so I think, you know, and I expect that cities that do use this technology are going to want to test it. And it's going to be a slow roll because this is different. This is now, we're talking about a person's rights. A person could be incarcerated on, you know, a report like this, and they're going to want to make sure that they got it right.
Yeah, there's a lot of ramifications.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to our next case here. The ongoing unrest at college campuses across the nation. Anti-war demonstrations already forcing some schools to modify graduation ceremonies. Overnight at USC, thousands gathered for a pro-Israel rally just outside the campus. This demonstration coming just days after the university shut down a pro-Palestinian encampment. USC is the first school to cancel its main commencement ceremony, citing security concerns. Right now, an investigation is also underway at UCLA into the violence that broke out after counter-protesters attacked a pro-Palestinian encampment last week. Police may use photo recognition technology similar to what was used after the January 6 attacks on the Capitol to identify the protesters. And of course, back here at home in Arizona, I mean, we've had protests over in at our local university here, ASU, as well as U of A. Get into the rights that protesters have or demonstrators versus the rights that the university has.
Right. You know, in the case of, say, public schools like U of A and ASU, you know, those students are expressing their right to free speech, right, to express the, you know, whatever displeasure or support that they're giving, and to do so in a peaceful manner, right? Just because they're there doesn't get, and expressing their First Amendment right doesn't give them the right to commit criminal offenses. In this case, criminal damage or assault or, you know, any other assortment of offenses. And the universities have the right to make sure that they're providing a safe environment for the students and for the public that might be visiting the campus.
Yeah.
And trespassing too.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because what can happen is that at some point you have security, you have law enforcement there on campus at the university, and they can make the decision that somebody is being disruptive. That now it's not a protest. This has become into a threatful situation, and the university has to take action in order to protect the public and the student body there.
Is there a distinction between campus police versus a city police, like Tempe, for instance?
That's a great question. ASU, we'll take ASU because it's our home school here. They have their own police force. Those are law enforcement officers. I know, as a defense attorney, I often, when I get a student that's accused of some kind of criminal offense that occurred there on campus, they're making the assumption that, well, they're security guards there. No, they are actual law enforcement, sworn peace officers. And so there really isn't a distinction. They can investigate, they write police reports, they wear body camera.
Yeah, same thing.
Absolutely no different. And they can also charge people for criminal offenses as well.
All right, Hector, thank you so much. We'll, of course, get to 2 more cases with Hector in our next half hour. Lindsay, over. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow our YouTube channel for more content and watch the Ask the Expert segment weekdays at 4 p.m. and right here on our 12 Plus app.